everybody, this is the Victor and welcome to my hotel here in Tiotitlan. Not the best hotel I've had, but okay, we'll have to deal with it. Today we're going to take a look at a bit of a different movie when it comes to the DC universe. The DC wanted to make their movies a little bit more family friendly and more light-hearted and a little bit less dark and gritty and overlong. The result was Shazam, and it is a movie that I think is on the precipice of being something new and unique, and parts of it I really liked. There's also stuff in here that does not work entirely, but let's find out more, shall we? This is my review of Shazam! So we have this kid that has been abandoned by his mom some years ago, and he has been obsessed with finding her. Finding her is his #1 priority. How he has not been able to do that in a world of Facebook, Instagram, what have you, I don't know, but movie's gonna movie, I suppose. He lives with this big foster family, along with about half a dozen of other foster kids with different types of social quirks or whatever. He feels he doesn't really fit in there, and he just want to find his mom. He doesn't dislike his siblings or his foster parents or whatever. He just feels like if he can just find his mom, everything's going to be fine. I really like the family and the family dynamics in this movie, and it gave the movie a different type of vibe. One day, however, life will change for him because some bullies straight out of a Stephen King adaptation that never got made is chasing him. And he's being chased down into the subway, and he ends up in a different dimension, where this guy tells him that you are worthy of, being bestowed the power of the gods and stuff like that. And he's been given the strength of Achilles and what have you, and whenever he says Shazam, he instantly transforms into, well, this thing. And how is he going to use his newfound superpowers? Well, to buy beers and to go into titty bars, of course. Big success. Anyway, but there is a problem on the horizon because, Mark Strong is still upset over the fact that he doesn't have any hair anymore, and also the fact that he actually used to have met this guy in this other dimension, and he was denied having these powers because he was deemed unworthy. So he has been searching to a way to getting back into this place, and he actually is successful in doing so. He also, while he's there and racking up all sorts of shit, he also frees the embodiments of the 7 deadly sins, which he's going to, wreak havoc on the city of Philadelphia. The thing is that he realizes that in order for him to obtain the power of Shazam, he has to, kill Shazam. So now, big old Shazam has a target on his back. Is his family going to be able to help him with this thing? Is he going to be able to find his mom, and is that going to make things better? Or is he actually with his actual family, despite them not being blood related? That's what we were sort of going to find out in this movie. This movie did something a little bit different than what other DC movies had been doing that far. This movie had a lot more humor to itself, and it also was a bit more realistic, and it had more of a, I wouldn't say kitchen sink realism, but it had more of a presence in reality than what previous movies had had. And it wasn't as dark, and it wasn't as gritty as the other movies had been, and it made the movie stand out, and it had been far better than some of the movies that had been trotting out before this. And I just love the guy who plays Shazam. I believe him to be a kid in an adult's body, and the glee that he expresses when he tries his superpowers, and when they talk about different wacky cliches of superhero stuff and things like that. It really worked, and it was really charming. It was really entertaining. Too bad then that they had to do a classical kind of bland, kind of boring, kind of blasé superhero movie finished the whole thing. I don't know how they would, make a great third act to Shazam, because the movie had been so different up until this point. But it had been a trend over the past 10 years or so that the third act of a superhero movie was the weakest one. It felt more like an obligation, it felt more like an obstacle, when it used to be the most exciting and the most awesome thing in the entire movie. But now it is an anchor around this movie's neck. It's not bad, it's just not as satisfying as the rest of the movie is. And while it has some fun things when they have bad guys having bad guys conversations so far in the distance that the heroes cannot hear them, is really funny. Too bad that they've already done that in Kung Fu Panda, and it was also done better. So Shazam is a charming, and it is an interesting, and it is a different type of a superhero movie where they kind of, joke around a little bit with the superhero genre, a little bit like they did in Super and Kick-Ass, even though those movies are better than this one, obviously. But it is a movie filled with charm, and it has memorable characters, and it is a movie with a purpose to try to broaden the perception of the DC movies, and they succeeded with that. And I thought that the sequel actually was just about as good as this one was, even though nobody seemed to like that movie for some reason. I kind of liked it, despite being a bit different and a bit of wacky sometimes. But the movie isn't perfect. They have some rather horrendously use of cliches, some superhero related and some not so superhero related, and some of the things they had was a little bit on the nose, and they were laying it on a little too thick sometimes. But I still thought that it was a movie that was entertaining, had fun and interesting characters, had a new and fresh concept, even though that they fell into the same trap as the superhero movies of that time had done at that time. But the lead is very, very charismatic and fun, and the fact is that they dared to have them in ridiculous costumes like this actually made this movie feel a bit more bright and more colorful, and it just put a big smile on my face. Let's put a smile on that face of yours. So if you've never seen Shazam, I do recommend this movie, and I also recommend the sequel, which I actually think is just about as good as the first one. And I actually do like Black Adam, which I assume takes place in the same type of, universe within the universe, even though they, never made any more movies because they are rebooting the whole thing with James Gunn's Superman movie, which opened, just a few days ago. I haven't seen it yet, but I will see it eventually. My expectations on that movie is modest. We'll see where that one goes, but I really like Shazam, and I do recommend it. Shazam is a different and entertaining superhero movie, which I give 65 points. I don't know whether or not the fact that they don't have any big-time celebrities or movie stars in this movie is to this movie's help or not, but it gave the movie a different type of identity, and I think I like that. Shazam is, as I said, a decently paced movie that has a different look and a different atmosphere to it. And if you like movies like, Super or Kick-Ass, and you want to see some, similar things but done a little bit of a different way, in a little bit of a, more heartfelt, more family-friendly way, this is a pretty good movie to do it with. So I'll see you next time for so-and-so reviewing, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.